I don't know what's going on. Hey YouTube, Ken Stack here, making my second video from, or continuing my first video, I say. I had a couple things I wanted to clean up from the first video, and then, as I said, I wanted to talk a couple more stories and continue with my story. One thing I wanted to clean up, and first, actually, before I go, I want to thank so wholeheartedly many of my friends that I posted on Facebook this video. For them to see. The comments were outstanding. Your support is absolutely amazing. As I said, my injuries happened, or I medevaced out of country in 2010. You know, it's 2020 now, and this blog has been a long time coming thought process in my mind, and I've just been very, very intimidated to do it, just to expose yourself, to get yourself out there and really open up and say some things that maybe people didn't know, and you're kind of afraid to talk about at times. But I feel it's very important, not only for myself, but for those that can see this and then potentially maybe help them, let them know that I'm not the only one, because again, many of us veterans and other people that suffer from depression and certain things, you feel alone. You just feel isolated and no support. But I want you to know that there are people out there, and there are people willing to listen and talk and care about you. So again, disclaimer, this story is my story. They're my recollections. There are no one else's. What I say is my truth, so to speak, and I don't. I'm not here to tell anybody how things go. This is just how it happened for me, and how I am, or how I reacted per se. So one thing I wanted to clean up from the last video is I talked about, for I think it was about a year, while I was home on my medical process, I got into the oxycodones, Percocets, the big pills that the military seem to give you, in these, pretty sizable bottles. I wish I kind of kept one just to show you the size of bottle. They just, oh, here you go. The correction I wanted to make is it wasn't that I was addicted. I wasn't addicted to Percocets. I wasn't addicted to alcohol per se. It was more of me finding a way to kind of drown the way I was feeling. When you come back and you're back into what reality, back into real life. And like the way it happened for me is there wasn't like a process out. It was boom, straight out, here, and starting to come to grips with the pain, the problems that you're having. And as I talked about, some of the things that I had gone through where the military threw curveballs at me while I was on this medical process. So, and you have, and like I had said, I had done a tour before, and then came back for about a month, and then, really didn't think much about my wife, and chose to be selfish and jumped on a second tour to Afghanistan with another unit. And that was, so coming from a year in one tour and then jumping into another one, my body was just continual for a year plus of these high levels of anxiety, high levels of attentiveness. I mean, just your senses are crazy, because at any moment, something could happen to you. You could die. I mean, a firefight, whatever. Even though, and I'll tell you the story that I was branded Lieutenant Lucky by many of the companies. I'll explain that later. So it wasn't that I was addicted. I used the medication to kind of drown myself. I don't know if, and somebody asked me the question today, or the other day, I'm sorry, in some of the question lists. I wasn't sure. It wasn't that I was trying to commit suicide. I don't know, maybe I was. I don't know, a part of me. I really can't explain that. It was just, I think to me, as I reflect back, it was more about me drowning myself out of what I was feeling at that moment. So kind of what I did. So I wanted to clarify that. Again, I want to thank everybody so much for those comments. And before I go on, make sure if you please watch this video, please share, subscribe, like it, share it with others, please. That maybe you might know a military member, maybe you might know someone that's just struggling, or you know what, hey, maybe you just want somebody to laugh at. I don't know, you know what I mean? But share it with somebody so I can get my message out, and show people that there are people out there that that have the same story, or something resonates, and I can talk. I want to open a forum. I want to build something that people can talk, and we can share ideas, and people can ask me questions. And I pose you to please leave comments, call me, text me, talk to me. And I want to talk about the things maybe that you want to hear. So anyways, so that I wanted to clarify that one. And I believe the other thing I wanted to clarify is I did say in my last video, I said that it's 2010, which I meant to say it was 2020. It was about 2 years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, when I wanted to start this blog, and it's been a long time coming. And one of my friends, I asked him to help me out, and he said, I'll call you and call you and call you. And sure enough, that man definitely called me a lot. So continuing my story, a couple things I wanted to go back to is a part of going through this process, near the end or during it, between the millions of, not millions, I'm sorry, that's way too high, many doctor visits between the neurology and seeing the knee specialists. And once I finally got to that point where I realized I had a problem, and I think that's key. It's a key value that you can go seek help, but that help's not going to work if you don't want it to work. And having that person in my life that was there for me every moment, and through my whole military career, not my whole, she wasn't here when I was in the Marine Corps, but this latter half military career as a military officer, Army officer, she was there for everything. And she supported me through everything. And she didn't like a lot of things, but she supported me. But having her give me that ultimatum, and recognizing from that visit that I'm not like as crazy as them, but you know what? I got some problems. Like I could tell you, one night we're in bed, and I don't think I closed our back door well enough. And sure enough, about probably 1, 2 in the morning, the alarm starts wailing in the house. Woo, woo, woo. I think I probably hit the ceiling. Not literally, but feel like I did. Ran straight to my closet, got my firearm, and here I am pawing around every corner, every area, doing my military tactics, making sure if somebody's in my house that they're not going to be happy if I get a hold of them. So of course the police were called. I went down and secured the house. My anxiety level was just like, raging. It was raging. And my wife was like staring at me going, oh my God, this guy's crazy. Especially, how tactically I was doing everything in my house. Right back to your training, because you do it over and over. So the police responded, and I know police knocked on the door. And I told them on the phone that I had a gun. And they said, do you need to put that down? And I said, no, I'm in my house. I'm not putting any gun down. So they knocked on the door. They identified themselves as the police. I looked at the peephole, and I said, make sure I can see your badge, because I do have a gun. Once I saw the badge, and the woman on the dispatch on the phone told me the number, and it correlated. I put my gun down, opened the door, and talked to him. But it was just pretty funny that here I am running around my house over an alarm. So there's another one of the stories that even in real life, I think I'd kind of be that way, but not as on high alert per se. So continuing on, all these appointments and everything I went through, it was absolute crazy. I remember, and actually I clarified another thing. I apologize. When I finally got to San Diego, I was in the California Wounded Warrior Battalion, which was stationed, or they were stationed out of Sacramento. So the unit was out of Sacramento, but they were letting me stay in San Diego. And I was receiving treatment at Navy Medical Center Balboa. So I'm assuming if I probably had gotten to the Wounded Warrior Battalion that was at Balboa, I bet my paper probably wouldn't have gotten lost. But hey, it happens, and you got to work through it. So being with them through this whole process and working hard to try and go to all these, we had like monthly and quarterly meetings we had to fly up to and to go through these appointments and go through stuff there. And one of the biggest frustrations I had is every time we had like this quarterly meeting, they would bring this some specialty group in that did like yoga, and one time we did surfing, and another time I think it was, I can't remember the other thing that it was, or I think it was bowling or something, and they'd take it to this place, and of course the media would show up. And as I think back up on it, I know it's important to show the public that they're trying to do something for us soldiers and warriors and Marines and whatnot, to try to help us live with what we're going through by taking our mind off, that, and providing this opportunity for us. It just was hard at the time because I didn't want to be on TV, and I didn't want to be, I felt like I was being used as a prop, and it's hard to want to be that or be portrayed like that. So anyways, I didn't appreciate that too much. And then as things went on, the other thing that I found out while I was going through that Wounded Warrior Battalion is there's kind of a loophole. Even though I was getting paid my full active pay plus BAH, there was a loophole in Social Security where you could, because we weren't capable or able to do our military job, we could apply for Social Security disability. So one of the soldiers was telling me about it. He's, oh yeah, I applied for it. I did this, I did that. And it didn't make sense to me because here I am. So one of the soldiers was telling me about it. He's, oh yeah, I applied for it. I did this, I did that. And it didn't make sense to me because here I am. I'm in that through, and man, I got like a check for like 25 grand. It was great, and I'm just like, nah, I can't do that. Then one day I was like, all right, why not? I'll take a shot at it. So I applied for it. And of course, like he had said, you're going to get denied. And then eventually I got a court hearing. And what specifically I remember mostly about the court hearing is I remember the judge asking me, basic questions. And he'd asked me a question about if I was going to return to duty. And I know I never answered him because all I did was break down in tears. And I couldn't stop crying because it was like at that moment right there, it was the moment that I realized that I would never really don that uniform again and do active service or reserve. I knew that my career was over based upon my injuries. And what I thought was hilarious is like the judge kind of taps the gavel and says, yeah, well, I think we're good. full benefits. But, it was, like I said, there's moments that you come to these realizations and it just happens, it just is. And you just can't forget those because those are moments that are, you just like, wow, it's real now, So tomorrow or the next day, I'll talk more about that. Something else I want to continue to discuss is one important thing I wanted to start bringing up too is when I started going through the actual process of being retired, medically retired, I wanted to talk about a category. There's 3 categories that you're placed in when you're injured overseas or in a combat environment. there's the fob injury, there's the instrumentality of war, and then there's injured by combat, Purple Heart. Kind of wanted to talk about those three things a little bit and what my feelings were on them, and hopefully, maybe the military has improved on that. So, again, thank you very much for watching this quick video. I don't want to keep them too long because I know you don't want to spend 30, 40 minutes watching me babble on. So, again, please like, share, subscribe, especially share. I want the ability to connect with other people, live talk, answer questions, and, connect. And most of all, let them know that you're not alone. There's many of us out there, and we all need to connect with one another and create that group so that we can heal. Therapy and other things, I think the only true therapy is you being able to talk through it and be able to process, and maybe have someone else help process with you. So again, I thank you very much for listening, and have a good evening, and Captain Stack out.